I think I should, I should say or start by sharing the pleasure to be with you in Hong Kong, to welcome you in Hong Kong because, well, I chair Schneider and I am the CEO of Schneider, but I've been living in Hong Kong for the past 7 years in Asia. And why is that? In the past 20 years, we saw that Asia would be leading the growth of our business, of our industry. And I had the privilege personally to be in the team that created Schneider in China, where today we have 25,000 people. And we started India 15 years ago, and we have today 20,000 people in India, 12,000 people in Southeast Asia, 5,000 in the Pacific, 5,000 in Japan. And we did that at the beginning in a rather classical way, which is you send people, and you develop people, and you recruit people. And then 7 years ago, with a part of my team, we said, well, we have to go to trenches in the front line and accelerate that. And this is why we've been living here and developing Asia from Asia and leading the group globally, actually, from here. And it's been very beneficial to us because Asia, of course, has become the biggest region of the company. Some of you in this room might ask themselves, what is Schneider Electric doing in an IT conference? And actually, you know us on the different passport. And I did that in 2007. I married APC together with Schneider Electric to solve the global equation of reliability and efficiency in the field of IT, in powering the data center, in bringing energy to the data center. And by the way, we did the merger on Valentine's Day, which is always good for a merger. You have to be very precise in everything you do, okay? But it's great to say that 12 years or almost after, that has proven a great combination, and you've helped us and supported us in this journey, and I want to thank you as I start with this conference. But why is Schneider Electric in an IT conference? First, because over the past 15 years, we've connected everything in the systems we sell. And we've developed IP-connected architectures in every of the business we serve, from connected products into edge controls, which are precisely adapted to every application, and then to a set of software, digital services, analytics, AI that we plug to give sense to the data. And today, everything which is connected represents already 50% of the business of Schneider, $15 billion. Then, in parallel, IT as an end market is now 15% of our business. It's grown consistently 10% every year, including in the years of crisis. We are number one in what we do in this segment. And it has become our largest market in the world, ahead of what used to be the traditional utility business, oil and gas business, food and bev business. IT has become the biggest segment. And why is that? Again, if we keep drilling, because we are living in a very exciting time. And we live at the convergence of digital and power. And what we see today is that digital drives power. If you look at the equation of energy and you look forward 15 years, energy consumption will increase 1-fold, electricity will grow at twice the pace, and IT will grow 4 times. That's pretty much it. 1, 2, 4, right? 60% of what we see here is driven by IP traffic on associated networks. But the rest of the IT consumption of electricity is about chip manufacturing. And if you put together chip manufacturing on traffic, you've got the fastest electricity consumption in the world. Now, if you want to make your electricity efficient, making it digital is the only way or the best way. And we systematically in every application can reach 20 to 30% efficiency by mixing or converging digital and power together. Now, of course, digital, everything which is digital is very sensitive to the quality of power. And we need, as we develop more digitization in all of our industries, develop completely integrated solutions for power. So what we see today is that 90% of the companies in the past have experienced loss of their critical systems. 35% of them are coming from a problem of power. On 1 hour of loss, for instance, on the trading floor, has huge consequences. 6 million euro on the trading floor. But you could go into every industry. The loss incurred by 1 hour of a loss of a critical mission, part of the process, very often provoked by power, has tremendous consequences. We see at the moment, in our sector, in our industry, we see 3 major transitions. The first one that was well commented by Yuan-Chin on all of us is the fact that everything is getting connected, and everything then is getting powered or given intelligence by AI, right? Or sense, the connectivity is given sense by the power of computing developed by AI. And rather than talking about the theory of that, I'd like to take a few examples of that on some example in Asia. So let's start by Thailand, Supernap, which is a data center. It's an interesting example, completely connected, integrated EcoStructure architecture. And that is an interesting example. That's a subsidiary of Switch in the US. So Schneider being strong in the US, having Switch as a customer, we translated the architecture of the US into the needs of Thailand. The fact that everything is powered by one integrated software architectures allows the customer to gain competitive edge by guaranteeing a 100% uptime to its customers on 30% on productivity. Another example that we did with Data, who is one of our great partners in the Pacific, is to work on Christie Space, you could say the WeWork in Australia. On here, of course, it's a completely different environment. It's about edge data centers that the customer is putting at the disposal of its customers in those offices so that they can increase the yield of the rental by 12%. They can also reduce their operating costs of the data center by 16% by integrating all of that in one architecture. Going to the next case, and we go on the West Coast or the west of the US, and speak about a utility IT system that they had to retrofit completely. And this case is quite interesting because it's a mix of centralized data center on edge data centers that needed to be integrated into one system. So by integrating all of this within EcoStructure IT, they got, well, a reduction of their space for racks, 75% of combined improvement in power usage effectiveness, and 100% of the critical applications were successfully migrated with no blip. One interesting thing is that this is addressing 500 remote sites, which we, of course, did with our partners. On the fact that we could partner the deployment of that with our local distributors, integrators, made that deployment possible in a record time. Final one I want to comment is ADNOC. You are in Abu Dhabi, and this is one of the biggest oil and gas deployment. And what ADNOC wanted was one complete repository of their industrial installations on one big control room with screens putting together all the elements to manage. You see the quantities to be produced and be shipped. And this is what we operated. I'm going to be with them actually at the end of the year to draw the lessons of this implementation. But we have on one repository the whole of ADNOC there. And all of this is IT going into the sector of OT or into the field of OT. Second transition we see is that when we speak about digitization, very often people think about the IoT on real-time connectivity on the combination of one, a lot of objects connected, second, aggregation of data through big data, and then deployment of computing through AI. But the big efficiencies that we see that the whole process from design to maintenance is getting digitized for much more efficiency. So more efficiency at the time of the design, because in the old world of construction, 30% of the budgets today in average are reworks of the installation, plus managing the complexity on work sites of people colliding against each other. Then you've got a massive loss of efficiency when you transition the digital model from design into the operation phase. And then there is very little learning from the operation back into the design. So what we are working in parallel of digitization of real time is that integration of the whole life cycle of installations, which brings also the double value of making sure that every modification is registered on the digital twin, and every learning from the operation is fed back at the initial of the design so that the next design can become better. The third transition, of course, is the interesting one between centralization and decentralization. We've seen the IT, which is an expert of that, of going back and forth, driving the movement to the cloud in the past 10 years. What we've seen in a recent movement is back to the edge, because the more you bring things to the cloud, the more things we can bring to the edge. Not a bad opportunity for our common profession, I would say, so we have to accompany those movements. Things that people have less seen is that the same thing is happening at the level of energy. The cloud of energy is a grid. And what we've seen in the past 5 years, and it's a recent movement, is an explosion of microgrid, of decentralized generation, which is only possible if you digitize, because you've got to really coordinate very closely what's happening on the grid, what's happening on the edge, to make sure that this is reliable. So you've seen those two movements of digital, of power going together, which is a great opportunity for all of us, because every time we deploy digital on the edge, we have to make sure the right solution for power is deployed. And every time we push back things on the cloud, we have to make sure that there is enough supply to supply the big computing which is happening on the cloud. So what's the role of Schneider there? Our role is very simple. In the 21st century, and personally I've lived in many emerging countries, we know that still many people don't have access to a reliable energy. So our main mission is to supply energy, because energy is the base of life. So anybody who's lived in emerging countries knows that. If you don't have access to energy, your life is miserable. For anybody who is living with teenagers, we know also that if you don't have access to digital, your life is miserable. When your teenagers come to a new place, they don't ask you if there is power. They don't care about power. They ask if there is Wi-Fi. Okay? Because digital is your access for your teenagers to whatever their new life, but for all of us, it's access to business, it's access to education, it's access to the world. So what we do at Schneider is to develop combined or supply combined solutions of power and digital, because they are the source of life. So we make sure that life is on for everyone, everywhere, and at every moment. So a small picture of our company, $30 billion, big investment on permanent investment in R&D, a lot of it in software and connectivity. And probably one thing which is unlike other companies, our footprint is perfectly balanced between Asia-Pac, which is now #1, Western Europe, and North America, roughly the same size of business across that. And in terms of application, we do 50% of our business in commercial application, namely building and data centers, and 50% in what I call heavy-duty application, industry and cities. But IT, and what we do together, which was in the past going mostly in the IT space, 15% of our turnover, is going now everywhere with that convergence on OT and IT. And our job is to make sure that we go together, we bring you into those new spaces, because they represent as many areas or opportunities of business. So what we've deployed, or what we've been deploying or developing in the past, I would say 10 years, is EcoStructure. We launched our first integrated digital architecture in 2008, actually. So we are celebrating the 10th anniversary of EcoStructure. And very simply, EcoStructure is an integrated architecture. You put connected products, and we have a very simple principle here. Those connected products can plug into our systems or to anybody else's system. So we systematically develop on open standards. Second level, edge controls, to make sure that there is no latency, to make sure that there is a possibility for anybody on-site, on-premise to always recover control on installations. Edge controls for every of the market that we cover with one platform, so that people who develop on our platform don't have a multiplicity of platforms, but they can really deploy on one integrated platform. Third level, digital services, inclusive of analytics, inclusive of AI, completely open and completely agnostic, making sure that every service we deploy here can capture solutions of Schneider, but also solutions of others, because we know that our customers, that your customers have a multiple install base, and we don't want them to be trapped into a Schneider system. All of this supported by cloud on-premise or on our own premise if you want to buy the service as a service, on integrated cybersecurity services, which we tailor to each customer where they want to put into place their own operation. When we do that, and we do that in the IT system, what we've seen in the past years has been a combination of central data center, regional data centers, and local edge. And today, what used to be yesterday called a wiring closet or a server room, which is a local edge, remains, from what we see, somewhere the weak link of the whole thing. And it's much more complicated because it's really spread out in multiple sites. Very often there is nobody on those sites. But I would say that represents a great opportunity for our companies, because joining forces, we can really serve those new needs in a much better manner. So it needs an organized ecosystem. It needs software management tools so that everything is integrated on one platform. And in our case, it's of course cloud-based, because we need to be able to share that information. And of course, it needs to augment the capacity of the operators with analytics on AI. So what we see today is by deploying IT EcoStructure, and the reason why I'm here today is that we are officially launching EcoStructure IT. We see by the integration of connectivity and software into one integrated system benefits on reliability and efficiency. Reliability because you can redispatch much faster your services, because you can reduce the false alarms, because you can identify much faster the problems on site. When your teams are coming on spot, they know exactly what is the problem, where is the problem, and with what to come on site for a replacement. And it comes with insights on what is happening at a much faster speed. That's one example. I can't say the name, but it's a big, well-known retail chain in the US, where EcoStructure IT was deployed over all the edge data centers of the company across 2,000 sites. So those guys gained an 80% improvement of stability. Before they had deployed that, they had 70 UPS events happening at any time because of the spread of the system on such a large territory. With that, they reduced their incidents by a factor of 7. That freed a lot of hours for the people to face the customers. And they put under control more than 2,000 devices, which are now completely traced, and where the compliance can be checked in real time. Another example of added value of that full connectivity is, of course, the simplification of life for people taking care. I don't know about you guys, but as a CEO, everybody speaks about big data, but my obsession is small data. I don't want all those mails. I don't want all those messages. I just want AI to give me the relevant data. So using that, you reduce, and that's coming only from one UPS, the number of data where you are completely lost to just the relevant information that needs an intervention. So really simplification of life. All of this has sense only if we work on it with our ecosystem of partners. And you see that there are some of the colleagues who were on stage today that we work every day together to develop converged technology. on converged solutions. And most important, as we design EcoStructure IT, which is that software of supervision of the edge and data centers together, we did it not only for Schneider, but we did it for the partners of Schneider. So you benefit from a kernel which is integrated, which gives all the integration of data on integration of some services. But we have purposely designed a large space for customization for the partner, and a large space also for the partner to customize the software to the needs of its end customer. So to make sure that seen from your customer, it's your software customized to their exact needs. I'd like to take one example, which is E+. It's one of our partners in the US. They do managed services, and they use EcoStructure IT to scale it and to go beyond what they were doing before, which was just selling products. Using it, they went from selling products to selling products and services, so going from a one-shot sell to staying with a customer for 3 years. And here, those guys have 40 of their own sites. They are serving 240 branches of that bank. By doing that and working together, they are managing the maintenance of the bank by themselves. And they also use our own field services when they don't have the necessary resources in one branch. They can send Schneider services to represent them and give the service in their name. So this is what digital enables us to do in terms of sharing and enables us to do in terms of developing new services, but new services with our partners. There are a few things that I would like to share with you as a conclusion of this presentation. The first point is that the opportunity is larger than the white space in IT. When your customers are coming to you, they come with a global need of reliability and efficiency through the whole power distribution. So what I described here for EcoStructure IT, we've got exactly the same services for the powertrain, the whole power distribution, from the grid into the low voltage, and for the whole envelope of many IT installation, which is a building, ensuring the efficiency and the security of the building. And all of these parts of that chain of reliability and efficiency are served by digital twins and digital services, which are as many advisors to cover those parts of the distribution. And all of this can be aggregated into one repositioning of the consumption, the resources, which we call in our jargon resource advisor. The second element that I really would like to insist on is that while all of us in this room are passionate about the IT industry, IT is today merging into the OT. And Schneider, as salespeople, service people, engineering people, feet on the ground in each of those key markets of building, industry, and cities. And it's for us to go together and to bring converged solutions of IT and OT on the ground in those new markets. And you guys have a very good presence to address those new opportunities. And finally, when we open the page of digital, I think we start with efficiency, connectivity. But once you are connected, you see that there are many, many more collateral benefits that you can deploy into a connected installation. Of course, efficiency of energy. Of course, efficiency of process. Of course, an increased reliability because you go from curative to predictive maintenance. One thing which is completely under-publicized on that one is safety of workers, because people know what happens before opening a machine, before opening a closet. And me, as a CEO, my obsession is the safety of my people. And that is really a priority to deploy those technologies to start with for the safety of our operators. And finally, sustainability, because many companies today want to monitor those things and want to progress in that space. So that concludes about the opportunity. It's not only an IT opportunity, it's an all-industry opportunity. It's not only an efficiency and reliability opportunity. It opens many doors. But when you think about it, In the 90s, when I was in China, internet appeared, and it changed the way we communicate, we work, and live together. When we speak about the episode 2 of the internet, it's about connecting people to their machines, to their environment. We are in that space where we were in the 90s, in the internet of people. So we see in front of us a very exciting opportunity. So let's work on it together. On this conference, on this dialogue that we have together, it's a great opportunity to discuss those opportunities. Thank you.
We don't have much time for questions, but we'll ask a quick couple of questions.
Which means I've been too long. Right?
Yeah, we've got 3 minutes.
Yeah.
First of all, Schneider, it's not well known. You're a big company, but you're not that well known. And obviously we're talking about the trade war, but you're a European company. So how do you feel you fit as a European company? Can you tell the audience a little bit?
Well, yeah, we are, our company is domiciled in France, like my accent is saying, but I live in Hong Kong, so it's a bit, we have troubles of identity at times, okay? We are a true global company. So in France, we are labeled as a true European company. That means it's a status that people who are convinced about globalization have adopted, going beyond their own country of origin and adopting the same status. But I would say us being, I've got 1/3 of my team based in the US, 1/3 based here, 1/3 based on the time zone, which is in EMEA. So I would define us as a model where our priority is not to be one company of one sort, but to be the closest possible to our customers and to the best talents in the world. That's how I define ourselves. How do we do in the trade war? Like I mentioned before, we prefer an open world, right? We prefer a world without trade war. But now I believe because of our sector and because we've lived, all of us, in many countries, we have never seen the world as completely global. We know that every geography has their own characteristics, their own standards, their own priorities. So from the origin, we have designed the setup of Schneider to be multi-regional. So we have 200 production sites, we have 100 logistics sites, because normally you guys, you want the product for yesterday. Okay, and you want it for yesterday according to your own requirements. So we've designed our delivery capability to be very close to our end customers, not because of trade war, but because of customer service. But it happens that in times of trade war, it's helping.
Okay. We haven't got much time, but I'll ask one question, but you have to give a short answer.
Yeah. That means my answers are too long. I'm too long in my speech, and my answers are too long. I'm making the translation here.
So energy is becoming sexy.
Yeah, that's always been sexy.
For you, maybe.
Okay, right.
And you're French.
Right. Yeah.
So energy is becoming sexy, and what you did at the Paris Marathon was phenomenal. Can you just very quickly summarize?
So we are the sponsors of the Paris Marathon. For the people who in this room who love their stay in Paris, Paris is even more beautiful the day of the marathon because it's all Schneider green, okay? But it's a great, actually I invite you all to participate because it's, we have 3,000 people of Schneider, associates of Schneider, and customers running together among the 55,000 who come from all over the world to run. The winner is always from East Africa. That's not a problem. But at the end of the day, it's a great party, and it's two things. It's the only marathon in the world which is carbon neutral. And the second thing is that we were the first marathon to stage the departures of men and women so that we finish together. So the last marathon, the first person was a man, the 2 seconds were women, and it was a very competitive, because we like competition, it was a very competitive arrival. So you are all welcome and all invited.
And it's carbon neutral because the runners were running on a mat that collected the energy.
There is a part of this, and we offset the spending in carbon or the waste in carbon with investments of Schneider to get carbon credit and to make sure that the whole, can you say the balance sheet?
Yes.
The whole accounts of the marathon is neutral. It's a formidable place for innovation also, when you start to change the mechanics of running into energy. But yes, energy is sexy, which is great news. And electricity is the energy of the future. I think all of you realize in this room that all the big innovation which are transforming the world, electric mobility, semiconductors, all of this are powered by electricity. So there is a great deal of innovation. Some people tell me, while you are in digital and electricity is the past, digital is the future. I don't think so. Digital is the past. We've been on digital for many years. But electricity expects a lot of transformations in the next coming 10 years to come.
Jean-Pascal, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.